Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, original, chapter number 4, text number 6. Ajo Abhishan Avyatma Bhudanam Ishvaro Abhishan Pragritim Swam Adhishtaya Sambhavami Atmamayaya. Aja means unborn, one who hasn't taken birth. Krishna is said to be Aja. We are also Aja. Ajo Nityo Shashvadoyam Purano. We are also unborn. We are Nityo, eternal, Shashvado, everlasting, and Purano, oldest. When Krishna has all these qualities, the living entities, being the children of Krishna, also have the same qualities. Therefore, the living entities are addressed as Aja, unborn. Even though they are unborn, they appear in this material world or willingly accept the subordination of the material nature because they have a tendency to enjoy. Therefore, they are placed in this material world. So when they are placed in this material world, that Aja accepts a temporary material body. Why? Because these material happinesses are not actually permanent. So they came here to just taste it. And when they start feeling suffering because of this so-called testing on the material things, then they actually want to go back to the place where they have come. Just like you shift your permanent home to some other place. More often you actually think, we want to go and actually see how things are in that new place. So therefore, you don't leave your old home, but you take a temporary vacation or temporary transfer to that new place. And when you find it is not congenial for my existence, or things are not suitable to my comfortable living, then you move back to your old place. This is what exactly happening with us. So we came to this material world. Though we forget completely where we have come from and why we are here, but Krishna remembers everything. Just like father and mother witnesses and monitor the children activities. Sometimes the children takes some kind of bad decisions or engaged in some irrelevant activities. But the parents let them do it. They know this guy is going to be frustrated. At that time he may need our help. And they are ready to extend the help, but closely monitoring his movements. In the same way, we living beings coming to the material world, we forget everything. But Krishna is closely monitoring us. As soon as the discussions, frustrations, disappointment, agony, various other miseries, and we began to call, "Oh my Lord, please help me." Krishna is right there to guide us. Therefore, he was waiting for our call so that he can come and help us. So that is the Supreme Lord. So we are Aja and Krishna is also Aja. Now, what is the difference between these two Ajas? We living entities appears in this material world in 4 different ways. One is Svedaja. living entities are born from sweat, Sweda. Second, the living entities are born from the seeds. That is Udbijaja. Third is the living entities are born from Andaja, eggs, like birds and snakes and most of the reptiles. Then comes Jarayuja, like animals and human beings, appears from the embryo. So we take birth from these four sources and perform various kinds of activities and target something from the childhood or boyhood itself, that I want to be like this in the future. After setting our aim, we start working on it. And in the end, most of the time, we get our desires fulfilled. Some of the time, we do not get our desires fulfilled. Then we take birth again somewhere else in the same manner, Svedaja, Andaja, Udbijaja, and Jarayuja, embryo. And again, we start another set of actions. So this is the way the living entities' actions are programmed by their own wishes, desires, and finally their own karma. However, the Supreme Lord is distinguished from our descents in this world. First of all, he was not forced by any energies, but we are forced by our own desires, which suits to live in the atmosphere of material nature. It is called Apara Prakriti. There is a Para Prakriti and there is Apara Prakriti. Para Prakriti is the transcendental nature. Apara Prakriti is the material nature. So we are being forced because of our desires and karma. We take birth in 8,400,000 living species and keep changing this external body, although we are Aja, unborn. The Supreme Lord, also being Aja, not Ja, he descends in this world from his original home, which is called Goloka Vrindavana. Vrindavana means, Vrinda means Tulasi plants. Vana means forest. The entire village of Goloka Vrindavan is filled with Tulasi plants. Vrindavana. Goloka, and full of cows. Go means cows. Loka means the planet. Where Krishna and Srimati Radharani, Yashodamaya, Nandababa, Kirtida Mataji, and Vrishabhanu, and various other members eternally resides. And from there, the Supreme Lord, as the Marataka jewel, when the light is shot to Marataka jewel, the Marataka jewel manifests various kinds of colorful lights, which entice even the most vulnerable personality. So, like that, the Supreme Brahman, personality of Godhead, manifests like the Marataka jewels manifest different colors. The same way, the Supreme Lord, one of his personal expansions, Krishna has his Swayam Rupa expansions, similar expansions. Every Swayam Rupa expansion is as good as the original personality. Just like Krishna expanded when he was performing the Rasa Leela, there were so many similar Krishnas. So that one of the Krishnas descend into this material world. It's very complicated, but if we have Shraddha and understand one thing, God is the master of all mysticism, mystic opulences. Without mystic opulences, God cannot be God. Because all these mystics are simply depend on the Yoga Ishvara. Means all these yogis and mystics are depend on the Yogeshwara, the master and the Ishvara of all mystic opulences. So in God, the complete mystic opulences are manifested. The fault with the modern men, they think that God is like them because they have no mystic opulences. They presume that God also may not have that mystic opulences. As we mentioned before, He is distinguished, supreme, honorable, majestic personality of Godhead. And He must be distinguished because these unlimited Aishwarya is fully filled in Him. So He can use His power. Therefore, He is called Ishvara. Ishvara means the supreme controller. He is not just Isha. He is Ishvara, the controller. And we would see soon in this verse all these explanations. So that Supreme Lord descend into this world for few purposes. And those purposes will be discussed in the upcoming verses. But now we are sticking with this verse. Aja, unborn, comes in the same body without changing. You may argue, oh, I am also Aja, as you said before, and Krishna is also Aja. So what is the difference? Ajo, Abhishan, Avyatma. So here is the difference. So Krishna is stating here, don't think that I am like you Ajas. You Ajas accepts bodies. But my body, although looks like human body, Avyatma, it never decomposes or deteriorates. My body is completely spiritual, so therefore it never decay at any cost, at any time, and remain as it is forever, everlasting. Ajo, Abhishan, Avyatma. But your body is going to be burned, buried, thrown to the animals, or some living beings would eat, and in that way your body become a stool. If it is burned, become ashes. If it is buried, it becomes part of the earth element. But my body is not subjected to any of these transformations. I remain as I am always. Right? So, Ajo Abhishan Abhyatma Bhudanam Ishvara Abhishan. I am the Ishvara, the supreme controller of all living entities. So you may say, oh, what is the big thing, Krishna? I am also the controller. But how much you can control? You can control your children. You may be able to control your wife. Maybe your parents. You can be a leader of the society, president. Or you can be a chief minister of a particular state. Or you can become a big governor. Or you can be the prime minister or the nation's president. You have the limitations. You are unable to control them. Though you have Ishvara Bhava and you are in the position of Ishvara, but you are unable to control these people. So Krishna is not that kind of controller. You are not the controller of the people of this whole planet. Only little bit members. But Krishna says, I am the controller of all living entities, whether they are the human or the animals or reptiles or birds, trees, plants, or fish, devis, devatas, demigods or goddesses or anybody, even my own expansion for my own services, I have expanded into Balaram. Right? Why Krishna expanded first into Balaram? Balaram is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. He is always assisting the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, why Krishna has to expand? If he also has to be equal like Krishna, then what is the point in expanding? He needs a person who can take care of him very nicely. So he immediately expanded into Lord Balaram. So Krishna is the supreme controller of all living entities, including his own expansions. All expansions are his reflections, all coming from him. So he is the complete Godhead. So, Bhudanam Ishvara Abhishan, forget about his personal expansions. Keep them separately because they are not like Jivas. They are all in Vishnu Tattvas, Narayana Tattva and Krishna Tattva. But we are Jiva Tattva, tempted by the material sense gratification. Why it is called material sense gratification? What is the meaning of sense gratification? Sense gratification means anything you do overly. For example, if you are not hungry, still you are eating, chewing something. Some snacks, some chocolate, some this, some that. You are not feeling hungry, but you are engaged in your sense gratification, satisfying the senses and mind. That is called sense gratification. If you are hungry and you are eating food, doesn't matter. South Indian food, North Indian food, American food, Mexican food, Chinese food. But if you are eating to keep your health intact. That is not a sense gratification. That is the eating part. Sex life part. If you are using this energy to produce children, then you are using it in a right way. But if you are using it for just an entertainment and happiness or pleasure, then that is called sense gratification. Such actions will have the reactions because it's sense gratification. Eating too much, indigestion, problem, diarrhea, so many things. These things are also will produce various kinds of anxiety and unhappiness. So living entities descend in this world to enjoy their senses more than they need. So therefore they are called conditioned souls. And Krishna doesn't come in this list. And therefore he is the controller of all living entities. Ishvara sarva bhudana hriddeshe arjuna tishtadi. The supreme controller, Lord Sri Krishna, is in everybody's heart. Hriddeshe arjuna tishtadi. I always reside in the region of heart of all living entities, O Arjuna. Arjuna tishtadi. So Krishna is there to monitor your actions. Therefore he says, Bhudanam Ishvaro Abhishan. We are not the controllers of all living entities. We cannot even control our own siblings. What to speak of controlling all living beings in this creation. But Krishna is telling here, Pragridim Swam Adhishtaya. Pragriti, Para Pragriti and Apara Pragriti. Krishna descends using his Para Pragriti, not Apara Pragriti. Apara Pragriti is very inferior. Just like you are a big, distinguished personality in your circle, you may have your own private jet. You are not worried about the commercial aircrafts. Whenever you want, you just order your pilot and secretaries. They arrange everything. You just board it and fly to your destination. That is your own Prakriti, Swabhava, and your own opulences. Like that, God has his own opulences. He doesn't come through this material energy, which is like a commercial plane. You have to wait, you have to buy a ticket, you have to look for a cheap one, and you have to look upon a specific time and wait 2 hours or 3 hours at the airport. God doesn't do all these things. Whenever he wishes, let there be creation, let there be my descent in this world. All his Prakriti energies start working for him. That is called internal potency, not an external potency. Prakritim swam adhishtaya. I advent in this world using my own energy. Nothing to do with this external potency of taking birth, growing, and eventually become a boy and become an adult and become old and die. No, he doesn't go through that channel. He just appear in this world and perform his pastimes, whatever he set in his mind, and just go back as he is. No living bodies. If there is something, is simply an illusion created by the Lord because I have descended in this human society, I must have some human activities. Therefore, he advent through the womb of Devaki, even though Devaki said, I am pregnant, but I don't see there is anything in my womb like the other children who were in my womb were so heavy, 6 children, Sadgarbhas, but this pregnancy is so light because Krishna was not at all there. It's simply a balloon filled up with the air. Krishna came in 400 form from outside that Ashtami night and said, how can I help you, my parents? They said, you don't come in this form, you become a child. And Krishna said, Tadastu, and he became a beautiful boy with fully ornamented, having a peacock feather, having bracelets, ankle bells, toe rings, finger rings, fully decorated, fully clothed. In the material world, the children takes birth as Nanga babies. So Krishna is completely different. Therefore he comes. Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya, being situated on my own nature, Prakriti, unlike the material energy, Sambhavami Atmamayaya. Sambhavami means every millennium after millennium, I descend in this world. Atmamayaya, in my original form, Atmamayaya. In the previous verse, Krishna told Arjuna, your birth and my birth is totally different, my dear Arjuna. I come for a specific purpose to deliver these people, and you come to assist me in delivering these guys. Now Krishna said, your appearance and my appearance is not one and the same, my dear friend. It's totally different. And Lord actually mentioned the differences. Now, why he descended? That will be explained in the next 2 verses. So this is Krishna, one who attracts everyone to his pastimes. Who is not attracted to Krishna's Leela? Except some envious creatures who wanted to imitate him and wanted to be the Lord like him, which will be impossible. And let us see what is Krishna going to tell. The reason why he more often descends in this world. Hare Krishna.